They made it out with seconds to spare. The Vrax ship exploded. The news of the Vrax defeat spread across the galaxy in days. Species that had cowered in fear of the Vrax now whispered in amazement. Humans. A quarantined species from a death world had done what the entire Galactic Council could not. They had beaten the Vrax in open combat. On the Vrax homeworld, the Emperor received the war leader's report in his throne room. The Emperor was ancient and massive, covered in scars from 1,000 battles. He had led the Vrax to conquest after conquest. Never had his species faced true defeat until now. The Emperor crushed the communication device in his clawed hand. "Impossible," he growled. "A few dozen human ships defeated 300 of ours? They fought like nothing we have ever seen, Imperial Majesty," the war leader said, his voice shaking. "They used weapons and tactics we did not know existed. They boarded our ships. They destroyed us from within. They showed no fear. All species fear the Vrax," the Emperor said. "It is natural law. These humans do not, my Emperor. They are predators like us, perhaps stronger than us." The Emperor's eyes blazed with rage. "Nothing is stronger than the Vrax. You failed because you were weak. You will not fail again." He called his military commanders together, every war leader in the Empire, every ship captain, every warrior of rank. They gathered in the Great War Hall, thousands of Vrax standing in formation. "Hear me," the Emperor roared. "The humans have insulted us. They have killed our warriors. They have humiliated our empire. This cannot stand. I am assembling the full Imperial Armada, every ship, every warrior. We will go to this council station and we will crush the humans. We will make them beg for mercy. We will show the galaxy what happens when you challenge the Vrax." The warriors roared in approval. Pride had been wounded. Honor demanded satisfaction. The Vrax would march to war with their full strength. Within days, over 2,000 warships gathered in orbit. It was the largest military force the Vrax had ever assembled. Troop carriers held millions of warriors. Supply ships carried enough resources for months of combat. Weapon platforms bristled with enough firepower to destroy planets. The Emperor himself would lead them. He would personally ensure the humans understood their mistake. Meanwhile, at the council station, Admiral Taman received intelligence reports about the Vrax buildup. His expression was grim as he reviewed the numbers. 2,000 ships, Captain Yuna said quietly. 10 times what they sent the first time. "They are angry," Taman replied. "We embarrassed them. Predator species do not handle embarrassment well. Can we win against those numbers, sir?" Taman was quiet for a moment. "With our current fleet? Oh, we would inflict heavy casualties, but they would eventually overwhelm us through sheer numbers. Then what do? "We call for reinforcements," Taman said. "And we prepare a trap that will make the first battle look like a training exercise." He sent an urgent message back to Earth. The response came quickly. The second fleet was already being assembled. 20 more carriers, 60 destroyers, 15 dreadnoughts, and something else. Something the Vrax would never expect. The second fleet arrived 6 days later, dropping out of slip space in perfect formation. Leading them was Admiral Kyung, a veteran who had trained Taman decades ago. She was old now with white hair and weathered features, but her eyes were still sharp and fierce. "Admiral Taman," she said when their ships connected via communication, "I hear you started a war without me." "Not on purpose, Admiral," Taman replied with a slight smile. "But since we are in one, I am glad you are here. Show me what we are dealing with." Taman briefed her on everything. The Vrax, the Council, the first battle, the incoming armada. Admiral Kyung listened carefully, asking detailed questions about Vrax tactics and psychology. "They are pride-based," she concluded. "They cannot accept defeat. They will come straight at us with everything they have." "That is my assessment as well," Taman agreed. "Then we give them a fight they will never forget," Kyung said. She pulled up tactical displays. "I brought some new toys. Experimental weapons that Earth Command wanted field tested. Now seems like a good time." She showed him plasma lance technology, directed energy weapons that could cut through shields and armor like butter, antimatter torpedoes that released tremendous energy on impact, and most impressive of all, weapons platforms equipped with what Earth scientists called Ragnarok Protocol. "What does it do?" Taman asked. "It ignites stars," Kyung said flatly. "We position it near the red sun in this system. If things go very badly, we can trigger a premature stellar ignition. Everything in the system dies, including us. Mutually assured destruction on a solar scale. Taman stared at her. That is insane. That is humanity, Kyung replied. We do not lose, ever. If we cannot win, we make sure the enemy does not win either. But it is a last resort only. Let us hope we do not need it. Over the next week, the human fleet prepared. They seeded the entire system with weapons, mines by the thousands, autonomous railgun platforms, missile clusters, sensor nets that would track every Vrax ship. They turned the space around the council station into a killing field. Captain Yuna worked day and night on tactical planning. She studied every piece of data they had on the Vrax. She found patterns in their movement, weaknesses in their formations. She designed a battle plan that used the Vrax's own aggression against them. Commander Daehyun trained his Marines for the boarding operations to come. They would need to be faster, more efficient. The Vrax would be ready for boarding attacks this time. The element of surprise was gone. On the council station, Hana watched the human preparations with growing horror and hope. The humans were building weapons everywhere. The station itself was now surrounded by defensive systems. If the Vrax broke through, they would find the station turned into a fortress. Do you really think you can win? Hana asked Hyejin during one of their now regular conversations. Honestly, I do not know, Hyejin admitted. The numbers are bad. But humans are good at winning when the numbers are bad. It is something we have practiced throughout our history. I wish I had your confidence. You do not need confidence, Hyejin said. You just need to stay alive long enough for us to do our job. If things go wrong, the station has evacuation procedures. We will get you out and leave you to die. If necessary, Hyejin said simply. That is what soldiers do. We stand between danger and those who cannot fight. It gives our lives meaning. Hana could not understand that mindset. Her species avoided danger at all costs. The idea of deliberately facing death for others was completely alien. But she was grateful for it. The Vrax Armada arrived 2 weeks after the first battle. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the system's edge, and the sensor nets immediately began tracking them. 2,147 ships. The Emperor's flagship was the largest, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. The Emperor broadcast his message to the human fleet. His translator made his voice sound like thunder. Humans of Earth, I am Emperor Krenth of the Vrax Empire. You defeated a scouting force and believed yourselves mighty. Now you face the full power of our civilization. Surrender immediately. Submit to Vrax authority. We will allow you to live as slaves. Refuse and we will exterminate your species entirely. Admiral Taman responded from the bridge of his flagship. His voice was calm and cold. Emperor Krenth, I am Admiral Taman of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You have threatened my species. You have threatened our allies on the Council. These are grave mistakes. We will give you one chance. Withdraw now. Return to your territory. Never threaten Council space again. Do this and you will live. The Emperor's laughter boomed through the communication system. You dare threaten me? You are outnumbered 20-1. I will crush you like insects. Last chance, Taman said. I refuse. All ships advance. Destroy them. The Vrax Armada surged forward. Over 2,000 warships in a massive formation. It looked unstoppable. The Council representatives watching from the station began to panic again. Surely the humans could not survive this. Admiral Kyung spoke on the private command channel. All ships activate stealth fields. Time to show them what fear really means. The human fleet vanished. One moment they were visible on Vrax sensors. The next moment nothing. The Vrax were confused. Where did they go? Sir, they are attempting to hide, reported the Emperor's tactical officer. Our sensors cannot penetrate their stealth technology. Then we will flush them out, the Emperor growled. All ships, spread formation. Fire at probable locations. Make them reveal themselves. The Vrax fleet spread out and began firing at empty space. It was wasteful, but they had ammunition to spare. Energy beams and missiles filled the void. Then the trap sprang. Thousands of mines activated at once. They had been waiting in dormant mode, invisible to sensors. Now they came alive and attacked. Nuclear fireballs erupted throughout the Vrax formation. Dozens of ships exploded immediately. Defensive formation, the Emperor shouted. But it was too late. The mines were everywhere, hidden in the debris and dust of the system. Every time a Vrax ship moved, it risked triggering more mines. The human fleet dropped their stealth fields and opened fire. But not where the Vrax expected. They attacked from multiple angles simultaneously, above, below, from the flanks. Railguns fired from hidden weapons platforms. Plus, Admiral Taman stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching Earth spin slowly below him. Luna Command had been his home for 15 years now, ever since humanity had built its first true orbital defense network. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Right now, those eyes were reading the alien message for the 5th time. "Sir, the analysis is complete," said Captain Yuna, stepping up beside him. She was younger, maybe 35, with her black hair pulled back in a tight bun. She carried a data pad filled with information about the situation. "The message is genuine. The encryption is sophisticated but peaceful in nature. They are definitely asking for help, not trying to trick us." Taman nodded slowly. Humanity had known about the galactic community for 43 years. They had discovered the quantum communication networks by accident while testing experimental drives. Since then, Earth had quietly listened, learning about the thousands of species out there among the stars. They had respected the quarantine, mostly because they were not ready for first contact. They needed time to prepare. Now, ready or not, the galaxy had called them. "What do we know about the Virax?" Taman asked. Yuna pulled up holographic displays in the air between them. Images appeared of massive armored creatures with 6 limbs and jaws full of teeth. They are predators from a high-gravity world, strong, fast, aggressive. They have been conquering territory for 2 decades now. The Galactic Council species cannot stop them because they have no real military experience. "And they want us to fight these things?" asked Commander Daehyun. He was the head of the Marine Division, a thick-built man with scars on his arms from training exercises. He looked at the images of the Vrax without fear, only professional interest. "They are desperate," Yuna replied. "The Council is made up of peaceful species. Herbivores mostly. They evolved on paradise worlds with light gravity and no major predators. They have never fought a real war." Taman almost laughed. Humanity had been fighting wars since before recorded history. They had fought with sticks and stones, then swords and arrows, then guns and tanks, then missiles and drones. They had nearly destroyed themselves dozens of times. Every human child learned about the world wars, about the nuclear scares, about the conflicts that had shaped their species. "Show me their military capabilities," Taman ordered. Yuna brought up more displays. The Council's defensive fleet appeared, and Taman had to stop himself from wincing. The ships were beautiful but useless. Thin armor, weak shields, weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. They were police vessels, not warships. "They do not stand a chance," Daehyun said flatly. "No," Taman agreed. "They do not. Which is why they called us." He walked to the window and looked down at Earth. That blue marble had tried to kill humanity for millions of years. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, floods, droughts, ice, ages, plagues, predators, and humanity had survived it all. They had thrived. They had conquered their world and then reached for the stars. Now aliens were asking for Earth's help. It was almost funny. "What are your orders, sir?" Yuna asked. Taman turned back to his officers. "We mobilize." Full fleet response. "I want 12 carriers, 40 destroyers, and 8 dreadnoughts ready to launch within 24 hours. Pull crews from leave. Activate all reserve units." This is happening. The bridge erupted into activity. Officers rushed to their stations. Communication channels opened. Across the solar system, human ships received their orders and began preparing for war. Down in the Marine Bay, Daehyun gathered his battalion commanders. 200 of humanity's finest soldiers stood at attention, waiting for his briefing. He looked at them with pride. These were men and women who had trained in Earth's harshest environments: deserts, jungles, Arctic wastes, deep oceans. They could fight in any condition against any enemy. "Listen up," Daehyun said, his voice carrying across the bay. "We have first contact. Not the friendly kind. There is an alien species called the Vrax terrorizing the galaxy. They are big, strong, and mean. The Galactic Council cannot stop them, so they called us." He pulled up images of the Vrax. Some of the Marines whistled. Others grinned. Nobody looked afraid. "Intel says they are apex predators from a death world," Daehyun continued. "Sound familiar? That is us too. The difference is that we have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know every dirty trick. We know how to adapt. We know how to win." He tapped a button and battle plans appeared. "We are going to show the galaxy what humans can do. We are going to save those aliens, And we are going to teach the Vraks why you do not mess with Earth. The Marines cheered. Up on the command deck, Una was running through tactical simulations. She had studied every piece of data about the Vraks. Their ships were powerful but predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. They had never faced an enemy that used complex strategy. That was their weakness. Humans had spent centuries developing military tactics. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, false retreats, flanking maneuvers, combined arms assault. Humans had learned from thousands of battles how to fight smarter, not just harder. Una designed a battle plan that would have made ancient generals proud. It used deception, misdirection, and ambush tactics. The Vraks would never see it coming. Within 18 hours, the fleet was ready. 12 massive carriers hung in space, each one carrying hundreds of fighters and bombers. 40 destroyers formed protective screens, their railguns and missile pods armed and ready. 8 dreadnoughts brought up the rear, their main cannons powerful enough to crack planets. Admiral Taman stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at his fleet with satisfaction. Humanity had built these ships in secret over decades, using resources from asteroid mining and lunar factories. The Galactic Council thought humans were still primitive. They were going to be very surprised. "All ships report ready, sir," reported the communications officer. "Good," Taman said. He opened a fleet-wide channel. His face appeared on screens throughout every ship. "This is Admiral Taman. Today we make first contact with the galactic community. Today we show them who we are. For 200 years we have prepared for this moment. We have built our fleet. We have trained our soldiers. We have dreamed of the stars." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Now the stars need us. There are aliens out there who are about to be destroyed by an enemy they cannot defeat. They called Earth for help. They called us. And we are going to answer. Not because we have to. Not because we gain anything from it. But because it is the right thing to do. Because when someone asks for help, humans answer." Cheers echoed through the fleet. "We are going to jump to quantum slip space in 5 minutes," Taman continued. "The journey will take 6 days. When we arrive, we will face an enemy that has conquered dozens of worlds. They think they are unstoppable. Let us prove them wrong. Let us show the galaxy what Earth is capable of. All ships prepare for jump." The countdown began. In engineering, the slip space drives powered up, creating a whine that made the ships vibrate. This was dangerous technology. Other species had tried to develop it and failed. The energy requirements were massive. The risk of catastrophic failure was high. But humans had built their whole civilization on taking risks. 10 seconds, called out the navigation officer. 987, Taman gripped the armrest of his chair. He had made the jump dozens of times, but it never got easier. Reality itself would tear open. The ship would slide through the gap between normal space and the quantum foam beneath it. For 6 days, they would travel through a realm where physics worked differently. 3, 2, 1, jump. The universe twisted. Colors that had no names flashed across the view screens. The ship groaned as forces beyond human understanding pulled at it. Then everything stabilized. They were in slip space, traveling faster than light toward an alien civilization that needed their help. During the journey, the fleet prepared. Marines ran combat drills. Pilots practiced attack runs in simulators. Engineers checked every weapon system 3 times. Medical bays stocked up on supplies. Everyone knew this could be a one-way trip. In her quarters, Una studied the Council species profiles. She needed to understand who they were protecting. The files showed species that evolved without major threats, herbivores that grazed on peaceful plants, filter feeders that floated in calm oceans. They had built their civilization on cooperation and harmony. War was completely foreign to them. No wonder they could not fight the Vraks. But Una also noticed something else. These species had technology that humans had only dreamed about. Advanced medicine, energy systems, materials science. If humanity helped them, Earth could gain access to knowledge that would advance human civilization by centuries. It was not the reason they were going. But it was a nice benefit. Daehyun spent the journey with his Marines, making sure they understood the mission. "We are not conquerors," he told them. "We are protectors. These aliens asked for help. We are going to help them. Yes, we will fight. Yes, we will kill the enemy. But we do it to save lives, not take them. Remember that." His Marines nodded. They understood. Humanity had learned hard lessons throughout history. They knew the difference between justice and cruelty. On the 6th day, the fleet prepared to drop out of slipspace. Admiral Taman addressed them one final time. In a few minutes, we will arrive at the Council Station. The Vrax Flambassador Hyejin stepped off the shuttle and into the docking bay of the Council Station. She was humanity's choice for first contact, carefully selected for her diplomatic skills and calm demeanor. She was average height for a human, with short dark hair and intelligent eyes. She wore a simple gray uniform with the Earth insignia on her shoulder. The docking bay was massive and beautiful, with walls that seemed to glow with soft blue light, but it was also clearly not designed for humans. The gravity was too light. Hyejin felt like she might float away with each step. The air was thinner than Earth standard, though still breathable. A group of aliens waited for her. Hyejin recognized Hana from the species profile. The Quillari diplomat looked like a graceful tree person with blue skin and 4 slender arms. Her large eyes widened when she saw Hyejin walk toward her. "Ambassador Hyejin," Hana said through a translation device. Her voice was soft and musical. "Welcome to Council Station Harmony. We are grateful you came." "Thank you for having us," Hyejin replied. She tried to smile, but she noticed several aliens in the group step backward. Right. Humans showing teeth probably looked threatening to herbivores. Hana led her through the station toward the council chambers. As they walked, Hyejin noticed how all the aliens stared at her. Some looked curious. Most looked terrified. One small feathered alien actually ran away when Hyejin made eye contact. "I apologize for their reaction," Hana said quietly. "They have never seen a predator species before. Your eyes face forward. Your teeth are sharp. Your body is dense with muscle. To them you look like something that would hunt them." "I understand," Hyejin said. "We probably do look scary to you." "Terrifying," Hana admitted, "but also impressive. You move with such confidence, such purpose. We can tell you are dangerous just by watching you walk." They entered the council chamber and Hyejin got her first look at galactic civilization in person. The room was circular and huge with seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives from 47 species sat in those seats, all watching her with various expressions of fear and hope. Council leader. Then floated in the center, his jellyfish-like body pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "Ambassador Hyejin of Earth," he said. "The Council welcomes you. We thank you for responding to our call for help." "Earth is honored to help," Hyejin replied. She had practiced this speech during the 6-day journey. "We understand you face a serious threat. We are here to assist in any way we can. The Vrax fleet will arrive in approximately 2 days." Then continued, "Our intelligence estimates over 300 warships. We have no defense that can stop them." Hyejin nodded. "Admiral Taman is already preparing defensive positions, but I need to discuss terms first." A murmur ran through the chamber. Ambassador Veen, the small feathered alien, spoke up. "Terms? You want payment? We called you for help." "And we came," Hyejin said calmly. "But Earth has been under quarantine for 1,200 years. If we are going to fight for the Council, we need the quarantine lifted. We need full recognition as a galactic civilization. We need trade agreements and hyperspace route access. We need a seat on this Council." The murmur grew louder. Several aliens shouted objections. Hyejin waited patiently for them to quiet down. "You ask for much," then said. "The quarantine was placed for good reasons. Humans are classified as a dangerous species." "We are dangerous," Hyejin agreed, "but we are also here to help you. The Vrax are dangerous too, but they want to destroy you. We want to protect you." "There is a difference," Hana stepped forward. "She is right. We need the humans. We have no choice. I propose we accept their terms." The debate lasted for 2 hours. Some council members argued that letting humans into the galactic community was too risky. Others pointed out that they would all be dead in 2 days if the humans left. Eventually, practicality won. "Very well," Then announced. "The Council agrees to your terms. The quarantine is lifted. Earth will be recognized as a full member of the galactic community. Trade negotiations can begin after this crisis is resolved." "Thank you," Hyejin said. "Now shall we discuss how to save you?" The tactical briefing that followed shocked the Council to its core. Admiral Taman joined via holographic projection, along with Captain Yuna and Commander Daehyun. They presented their battle plan. "The Vrax rely on intimidation and overwhelming force," Yuna explained. "They have never faced an enemy with sophisticated tactics. We will use that against them." She pulled up holographic displays showing the system. We will seed the area with autonomous weapons platforms and mines. When the Vraks arrive, they will enter a kill zone. We will use hit-and-run attacks to break their formation. Then we will target their command ships with boarding parties. Boarding parties? Ambassador Veen asked in horror. You mean sending soldiers onto enemy ships? To fight hand-to-hand? Yes, Daehyun said simply. It is one of our most effective tactics. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. The idea of voluntarily entering an enemy ship to fight seemed insane to them. I must ask, then said carefully, is your species truly comfortable with such violence? The psychological profiles we have suggest humans experience trauma from combat. We do, Hyejin answered honestly, but we have learned to cope with it. We have trained soldiers who understand the risks. They volunteer for these missions, and we provide extensive support for those affected by combat stress. Volunteer? Another council member asked. You mean your soldiers choose to fight? They are not forced. Correct, Hyejin said. In human society, military service is honored. Our soldiers fight to protect others. It gives them purpose. This concept seemed completely alien to the council. Hana asked the question they were all thinking. Why? Why would anyone choose to put themselves in danger? Hyejin thought about how to explain it. Humans have a concept called duty. We feel responsible for protecting those weaker than us. When we see someone in danger, we want to help, even if it costs us. Especially if it costs us, there is honor in sacrifice. That is very different from our cultures, Then admitted. We value safety and preservation of life above all else. The idea of risking oneself for strangers is difficult to understand. That is why you called us, Daehyun said bluntly. Because we will do what you cannot. Over the next day, the council learned more about human culture, and each revelation shocked them further. Hana served as liaison, asking questions that helped bridge the enormous cultural gap. She learned that humans engaged in combat sports for entertainment, boxing, wrestling, martial arts. The idea of people hitting each other for fun horrified the council representatives. She learned that human children played with toy weapons and pretended to fight. Human stories for youngsters often featured battles and monsters. This seemed like psychological abuse to species that protected their young from even the concept of violence. She learned that humans kept carnivorous animals as companions. Dogs and cats were predators that humans had domesticated through thousands of years of selective breeding. The council could not comprehend voluntarily living with something that had teeth and claws. She learned about human food, meat from animals, spices that burned the mouth, alcohol that poisoned the body slightly for recreational effect. The council ate synthesized nutrients or simple plant matter. Human cuisine seemed unnecessarily complicated and dangerous. Most shocking of all was learning about Earth itself. Hana accessed human databases and saw images of their homeworld. Massive storms that could flatten cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that buried entire regions in fire, oceans that could swallow ships whole, deserts that killed through heat, frozen wastelands that killed through cold. How did you survive? Hana asked Hyejin in a private conversation. Your planet seems designed to kill you. It tried, Hyejin said with a slight smile. For millions of years it tried, but humans are stubborn. We adapted. We learned. We built shelters and made tools. We figured out how to survive anywhere, and eventually we thrived. But at what cost? Hana asked. Your history files show constant warfare, weapons of terrible destruction. Millions dead in conflicts. Why do you fight each other so much? Hyejin's smile faded. That is our shame. Yes, we have fought wars. Terrible wars. We have hurt each other in ways I cannot begin to explain. But we have also learned from our mistakes. We have grown. Modern Earth is mostly united. We still have conflicts, but we resolve them peacefully now. Most of the time. Most of the time? Hana repeated nervously. We are not perfect, Hyejin admitted. We still have violence. We still have crime. We still have disputes. But we are better than we used to be. Every generation improves a little. That is all we can hope for. Hana was quiet for a moment. I am afraid of your species, she said finally. I will admit that. You are so strong, so capable of destruction, but I am also grateful, because that same strength might save us all. That is our hope, Hyejin said, that we can use our violence to protect peace, that our strength can defend the weak, that our nature as predators can make us into guardians. Meanwhile, Admiral Taman was dealing with practical matters. The Council's defensive fleet was a disaster. He had assigned human engineers to work with alien technicians to at least upgrade their shields. It was like putting band-aids on a broke. The Vrax fleet moved through the system like a swarm of predators, 300 warships, each one bristling with weapons and armor. They had never known defeat. Every species they encountered had either surrendered immediately or been crushed within hours. The Vrax expected nothing different this time. Admiral Taman watched them approach on the holographic display. He stood on the bridge of the U.S. Indomitable, his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his bridge crew worked quietly and efficiently. There was no panic, no fear, just professional focus. They are not even trying to hide their approach, Captain Yuna observed from her station. They are coming straight at us. No scouts, no advanced formations, just pure arrogance. Good, Taman said. Arrogance makes enemies predictable. The Vrax broadcast another message. This time their war leader spoke directly. The translation came through rough and angry. Humans of Earth, you have made a mistake coming here. We will destroy your pathetic fleet. Then we will find your homeworld and make your species into slaves. This is your last chance to flee. Taman allowed himself a thin smile. Communications, open a channel to the Vrax fleet. Channel open, sir. War leader of the Vrax, Taman said calmly. I am Admiral Taman of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You threatened my homeworld. You threatened a species you have never met and know nothing about. That was your mistake, not ours. Stand down now, or learn why humanity is classified as a Deathworld species. The Vrax war leader responded with more laughter. Deathworld? We are from a harsh world too, human. We are warriors. We are apex predators. What are you? Weak creatures that beg for mercy? Mercy? Taman repeated. No, we are not here to beg. We are here to teach. And class is about to start. All ships execute Alpha Strike on my mark. The human fleet had been hiding its true numbers. Stealth fields and clever positioning made their 12 carriers look like only 3 ships on Vrax sensors. Now those fields dropped, and the full force of humanity's military might became visible. 40 destroyers appeared from nowhere, already in firing position. 8 massive dreadnoughts materialized behind them, their main cannons charging. The 12 carriers launched fighters and bombers by the hundreds. Fire, Taman ordered. Railgun spoke first. Magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rounds at a significant fraction of light speed. The rounds hit Vrax ships before their sensors even registered the launch. Shields that were designed to stop energy weapons did nothing against solid projectiles moving that fast. The tungsten punched through armor like paper through wet tissue. 5 Vrax ships exploded immediately. 3 more went tumbling out of formation, their engines destroyed. The Vrax fleet stumbled in confusion. They had never been ambushed before. They were the ambushers. Missile barrage away, called the weapons officer. Thousands of missiles streaked across space. Each one was independently guided by its own tiny AI. The Vrax tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions blossomed across their formation. On the council station, Hana and the other diplomats watched in stunned silence. The observation deck gave them a clear view of the battle. They saw human weapons tearing through the Vrax fleet with terrifying efficiency. Is this normal for human warfare? Hana asked Heejin quietly. This is a standard Alpha Strike, Heejin replied. Maximum damage in the opening seconds. We try to end fights quickly, but the Vrax are so much larger. Their ships are twice the size of yours. Size does not matter as much as tactics, Heejin explained. The Vrax have bigger ships, but they relied on intimidation. They never fought an enemy that understood warfare. Humans have been refining military doctrine for thousands of years. The Vrax fleet was recovering from the initial shock. Their war leader screamed orders, and the ships began to reorganize. They outnumbered the humans 10-1. They still believed they would win. They are advancing, Yuna reported. Formation is ragged but aggressive. They are going to try to close distance and overwhelm us with numbers. Let them come, Taman said. Captain G1, you are up. Captain G1 commanded the destroyer squadron. She was younger than most captains, only 30. But she had proven herself in countless training exercises. Now was her chance to prove herself in real combat. Squadron 1, follow me, G1 said into her communication system. Hit and fade pattern, stay fast. Stay unpredictable. 10 destroyers broke formation and accelerated toward the Vrax fleet. The Vrax focused their weapons on these ships, thinking they were easy targets. They were wrong. The destroyers were small and incredibly fast. They dodged and weaved through Vrak's weapons fire like dancers. When they got close, they fired torpedoes at point-blank range, then spun away before the Vraks could respond. 3 more Vrak ships exploded. The destroyers vanished back into the darkness of space, their stealth fields reactivating. The Vrak's war leader was furious. His fleet was being picked apart by an enemy that refused to stand still and fight properly. This was not honorable combat. This was hunting. And for the first time in their history, the Vraks were the prey. Enough, the war leader roared. All ships full advance. Crush them with our strength. The entire Vrak's fleet surged forward. It was an impressive and terrifying sight. Hundreds of massive warships charging together. The council representatives on the station began to panic again. It looked like the humans would be overwhelmed, but Taman had planned for this. Now, he said quietly. Hidden throughout the system, thousands of autonomous mines activated. They had been placed days ago by human ships, carefully positioned along likely approach routes. Now they came to life. The mines were smart. Each one had a small AI that could identify targets and choose optimal attack angles. They accelerated toward the Vrak's fleet, moving too fast for point defense systems to track. Nuclear explosions lit up space, not the massive city-destroying weapons from old Earth wars. These were smaller, tactical nukes designed for space combat. They turned dozens of Vrak ships into expanding clouds of superheated debris. The Vrak's formation completely fell apart. Ships collided with each other trying to avoid the mines. Some tried to retreat. Others kept advancing. Chaos replaced discipline. Boarding teams, you are clear, Taman announced. This was the part that would horrify the council most. Commander Daehyun led 40 assault shuttles toward the Vrak's fleet. Each shuttle carried 20 Marines in powered armor. Their mission was to board enemy ships and destroy them from within. Daehyun's shuttle approached a Vrak's battleship. Point defense fire peppered their hull, but the armor held. They slammed into the side of the Vrak ship and cutting torches went to work. Within 30 seconds, they had burned through the outer hull. Go, 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 Daehyun shouted. The Marines poured into the Vrak ship. They found themselves in a cargo bay filled with startled Vrak's warriors. The Vraks were huge, easily 3 meters tall, with thick armor plating and massive claws. They looked like nightmares made real. The Marines opened fire. Railgun rounds from their rifles punched through Vrak's armor. Grenades filled the bay with smoke and confusion. The Vraks tried to fight back, but they had never experienced close-quarters combat against enemies in powered armor. Daehyun fired his weapon in controlled bursts, dropping Vrak's warriors with practiced precision. A massive Vraks charged at him, claws extended. Daehyun waited until the last second, then activated his armor's thrusters. He shot upward, and the Vraks crashed into the wall behind where he had been standing. Daehyun landed on its back and placed a breaching charge on the back of its skull. The explosion was quick and brutal. Reactor room is 3 levels down, his squad leader reported. Heavy resistance. Then we go through them, Daehyun said. Move out! The Marines fought their way deeper into the ship. The Vraks were strong and tough, but they were also confused and disorganized. They had never been invaded before. Their ships were not designed for internal defense. The Marines used that to their advantage, moving through service corridors and maintenance shafts. On other ships, similar battles were happening. Human Marines were smaller than the Vraks, but they were better trained and better equipped. More importantly, they were not afraid. Every Marine knew the risks. They had volunteered anyway. Across the void, G1 led another destroyer attack. This time she targeted Vrak's carriers. The big ships carried fighters and bombers, but they were slow and poorly defended. Her destroyers ripped through them with railgun fire. Sir, the Vraks are trying to retreat, Yuna reported to Admiral Taman. At least half their fleet is turning away. Taman watched the display. The Vrak's war leader was still fighting, but many of his ships had broken formation and were trying to escape. They had never faced this before. Defeat, real absolute defeat. Do not let them get away, Taman ordered. I want that war leader alive if possible. We need him to carry a message back to the Vrak's empire. The human fleet pursued. It was not about vengeance. It was about making sure the Vraks understood. Earth was not prey. Humanity was not weak. This had to be made absolutely clear. Daehyun and his Marines reached the reactor room of their target ship. Vrak's engineers fought desperately to protect it, but they were not soldiers. The Marines swept through them. Daehyun placed high explosive charges around the reactor core. Charges set, he reported. All teams evacuate now. The Marines ran back to their shuttles. Behind them, countdown timers ticked down. The station floated in the darkness of space like a silver flower. Its metal petals spread wide, catching the dim light from the dying red star nearby. Inside those walls lived representatives from 47 different alien species. They had built this place together over 3,000 years ago. Peace was everything to them. War was something they had read about in old books but never truly understood. Hana stood in the observation deck, her 4 slender arms folded behind her back. She was a Quillari, a species that looked like walking willow trees with soft blue skin. Her large eyes reflected the stars outside. She had served as a diplomat for 30 cycles now, and every single day had been peaceful. Until today. The alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Hana's communication device buzzed against her skin. The message made her blood run cold. 3 colonies had gone silent. Not just silent, destroyed. Completely wiped out. The images that came through showed nothing but burning worlds and empty cities. The council gathered in the great chamber within the hour. Representatives from dozens of species filled the curved seats. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and some floated in special tanks filled with glowing liquid. But they all shared one thing. They were all afraid. "The Vraks have come," announced Council Leader Then. He was a Porthi, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish with wise old eyes. They emerged from the Dark Zone 6 days ago. Their fleet is massive. Their weapons are beyond anything we have faced. Hana had heard stories about the Vraks. Everyone had. They were nightmares from the edge of known space, huge predators from a harsh world with heavy gravity and violent storms. They stood 3 meters tall with thick armored shells covering their bodies. Their claws could tear through metal. Their jaws could crush stone. And they were hungry. Hungry for new worlds to conquer and new species to enslave. "What can we do?" asked Ambassador Veen, her voice shaking. She was small, even smaller than most species, with feathers that had turned white from stress. "Our defensive fleet is already moving to intercept," Then said. But Hana could hear the doubt in his voice. She had seen the reports. Their defensive fleet was a joke. The Council species had never needed real warships. They had ceremonial vessels that looked impressive but had weapons designed to disable, not destroy. Their shields were meant to deflect space debris, not military-grade plasma cannons. The Vraks tore through their defensive fleet in less than 3 hours. The reports came in one after another. Ships destroyed, crews killed. The few survivors spoke of horror beyond imagination. The Vraks did not just defeat them. They enjoyed it. They laughed as they hunted down escape pods. They broadcast messages of the screams. The council chamber fell silent. Hana looked around at the faces of her fellow diplomats. She saw despair. She saw the end of everything they had built. That night, Hana could not sleep. She walked through the empty archives, her footsteps echoing in the vast halls. These archives held thousands of years of galactic history. Every treaty, every first contact, every species profile. She searched through them looking for something, anything that could help. Then she found it. The file was marked with red warnings. Restricted access. Quarantine Protocol 7. Do not open without council majority vote. Her hands shook as she broke the seal and read. Species, human. Origin world, Earth. Classification, Class 12. Deathworld. Status, quarantined. Hana kept reading. Her eyes grew wider with each line. Earth was a nightmare planet. It had crushing gravity that would flatten most species. It had weather so violent that storms could level entire cities. It had predators everywhere. In the oceans, on the land, even in the air. And somehow, impossibly, one species had conquered it all. Humans. The file described them in clinical terms. But Hana could read between the lines. Humans were apex predators. They had forward-facing eyes designed for hunting. They had teeth meant for tearing flesh. Their bodies could heal from terrible injuries. They could run for hours without stopping. They could survive in extreme heat and extreme cold. They could eat almost anything. But the physical traits were not the scary part. The psychological profile was worse. Humans had spent their entire history fighting, not just against their planet, but against each other. They had invented thousands of ways to kill. They had weapons that could destroy entire continents. They had fought wars that lasted generations. They had concepts like acceptable casualties and mutually assured destruction. The file also mentioned their strange behaviors. They formed emotional bonds with predatory animals and kept them as pets. They jumped out of flying vehicles for entertainment. They created stories about monsters and heroes for their children. They had something called adrenaline that made them stronger and faster when they were in danger. The Galactic Council had discovered them 1,200 years ago. A scout ship had observed Earth from a distance and been horrified. The Council voted unanimously to quarantine the entire Sol system. Humanity was considered too dangerous to contact. The file noted that humans had already developed nuclear weapons and were beginning to explore their own solar system. The final note in the file chilled Hana to her core. Recommendation: avoid all contact. If humanity ever reaches the stars, retreat immediately. Do not engage. Do not negotiate. Survival probability against hostile humans, 0.03%. Hana sat in the dark archive for a long time thinking. The Vraks were going to destroy everything. The Council had no weapons that could stop them. But maybe, just maybe, there was one species in the galaxy that could. She brought the file to the Council the next morning. The chamber exploded with shouts and arguments. "This is insane!" screamed Ambassador Veen. "They are Deathworlders! They could be worse than the Vraks!" "They are predators," added another voice. "We would be inviting monsters to fight monsters." But Hana stood firm. "We are going to die anyway," she said quietly. "The Vraks fleet will be here in 8 days. We have nothing that can stop them. The humans are our only chance." Council Leader Then looked ancient and tired. "And if the humans decide to conquer us after they defeat the Vraks?" "Then we negotiate," Hana replied. "We offer them something. Trade, technology, territory, anything. But at least we would be alive to negotiate." The vote took 3 hours. It passed by the smallest margin. 24 votes in favor, 23 against. Hana composed the message herself. She kept it simple and direct. Humans appreciated directness, according to the file. She included the coordinates of the Council station. She included data about the Vraks threat. She included an offer. "Help us, and the quarantine ends. You can join the galactic community." She sent the message using quantum encrypted communication, the fastest method available. It would reach Earth in seconds, traveling through the strange space between space. Then she waited. The station continued its preparations. They evacuated non-essential personnel. They tried to strengthen their shields. They armed what few weapons they had. But everyone knew it was pointless. The Vraks were coming, and the Council could not stop them. 3 days passed. No response from the humans. "Maybe they never received it," suggested Ambassador Veen. "Maybe they do not care," added someone else. Hana stared at the communication panel, willing it to light up. She had gambled everything on this. The entire galaxy's future rested on whether a species of Deathworld predators would answer a call for help from strangers. On the 4th day, the panel lit up. The message was short. "Received, fleet launching, hold your position, ETA 6 days, United Earth Defense Fleet." The Council chamber erupted in mixed reactions: relief, terror, hope, dread. "They are coming," Hana whispered to herself. "They are actually coming." She looked out at the stars and wondered what she had just unleashed upon the galaxy. The humans were coming. Whether that meant salvation or doom, she would know soon enough. The Vraks fleet was 8 days away. The human fleet was 6 days away. The race had begun, and the fate of 47 species hung in the balance.